This is Jennifer Nisanoff. It is 11:04 and order. Let's all rise for
Pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm going to send around this attendance confirmation for the folks on the team. Thank you very much. And we have a visitor's log going on.
Yeah, it's floating around right now.
Terrific. Okay,
You want to do a roll call?
I will.
Thank you.
Getting my papers. Talking to Gabriel and just got lost in time. Okay, roll call. Let's go around and tell everybody who we are. Also, I have a request from the folks doing the minutes. If before people talk, especially if they're doing something like making a proposal of some sort, please announce who you are before you speak, because they're having problems with the minutes because they're not sure who's saying what. This is Jennifer Nisanoff. I'm on the Safety and Security Subcommittee. Who does?
Well, you skip me. I don't matter. Chelsea for the district manager. Future Daniel Potter for
We'll go this.
the foreseeable
Bob
future.
Shepard, Brunel, Ted Crawford, committee member. Ed Chukowski, committee member.
CC Haas, committee member.
Big Ann, committee member.
Open College, CDD.
Gabriel Green, who's site supervisor. JP Morbido, committee member.
Tricia Zimmerman, PPAC.
Daniel Potter, Public Works Director.
Cody DeAndrea, Portofino.
Okay, anybody on Teams?
Not that I saw it yet.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Not yet.
Public comment. Did anyone have any public comments?
Sure, it's public comment. For the committee, it's the best your knowledge what happened last night. I'll be on.
Okay, so
The committee.
You want to close the door?
Daniel Potter, Public Works Director, GSCDD. Just a quick update on the mill and repave of Aviano and Ravenna. The milling was done Monday, Tuesday. They got started yesterday on asphalt for Aviano. They got a little bit behind schedule and they worked late. There was miscommunication between their project manager and their foreman on site, and they kept the street coned off, even though the road asphalt had been laid and was completely drivable. Miscommunication on their end that I have really jumped into them on so that we don't have this issue when we move to Ravenna. It's been addressed. It's been addressed with the entire crew so that no roadway is closed down. The pre-construction meeting that we had prior to even starting the work on this outlined specifically what days, what times we're milling, what times we're tack going to be applied to the road, how much time does that need to dry, so that we can communicate it effectively with the community. But sometimes things happen outside of our control in the 11th hour. And I think that's exactly what happened last night, a miscommunication between project manager for Atlantic Southern and his foreman on site. And none of that was communicated to us until literally last night when I got an email from Jay. And I don't justifiably, because it wasn't even communicated to us. But the good side of that is that Aviano's done and they're moving on to Ravenna right now. And it's a brief inconvenience, and I apologize for the lack of communication there.
Atlantic Southern and the others have done a good job of.
Oh, they've done a fantastic job. It's just you got enough Indians and a couple of chiefs that are, just miscommunication. And I think we've corrected it and moved forward. So, yeah.
Okay, any public comment? Okay. What I'd like to propose is a slight change in the agenda under 9A introduction. Oh, this is Jennifer, by the way. Introduction of new Wiser supervisor. Mr. Green is with us right now, and I'd like to see if we can't move him up to the top of the agenda so that he can get back to his duties. Would that be okay with everyone? Okay, Gabriel, would you like to introduce yourself to the group, and we can have a little bit of a discussion then?
Absolutely. So a lot of new faces. I'm the new site supervisor for White. Basically the one that's in charge of heading up the new post orders, training people, getting things settled. I'm also the face that you see when you have like a complaint or an issue or just want to chat and say hello.
Terrific.
One more time, your name?
Gabriel Green. Just like the color, GREEN.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay, thank you.
Gabriel is also the person who has been doing a lot of training of the folks in the gatehouse.
Yes, ma'am.
So as we are getting suggestions, complaints, whatever you want to call them, we get them over to him, and very quickly, he and his team are getting together and trying to do some training. And so, for instance, one of the reasons I was a little late getting started was we've had another incident, so I was just telling him about it, and no problem, we're going to try to get it resolved. We just need a little more detail from the homeowner. So anyway, just want an opportunity to have him come and introduce himself. If there are any questions or comments that anybody would like to make, he's here to take them.
It's also a good time frame for you to give feedback to the committee as well. If you're seeing any safety issues that are arising at the gate, to bring it up to their awareness so that we can action some items if it's within our purview. And trends, any trends that you're seeing across the board as well.
I mean, honestly, the only thing we're really witnessing and it's already something you guys are handling, is a lot of traffic infraction kind of things. Just the other day, we witnessed a couple of kids come into the community and they decided to do a burnout right here at the four-way and flip a couple people off, almost hit somebody on a golf cart and took off out of the community. So we're seeing things like that. We're seeing traffic stuff.
Question, Gabriel, did we have
Yes,
a
sir.
picture of the license plate?
We sure do. And
Recorded.
yes, we are in the middle of writing our incident report right now, and we're actually trying to pull video footage for it so we can get descriptions of the drivers.
So we're down in the city of Fort Myers and. Right.
Yep.
Wow. The only,
Yeah.
I have one comment about the appearance of the guardhouse.
Yeah.
There's cones and things. It looks kind of ratty.
Okay.
Not, it's not all you, but I mean,
No, let me hear it.
Collectively,
Yeah. let me hear it.
we need to improve that stuff. I don't, where we would put things. Can't just stick them behind the guardhouse.
So you're talking about the cones specifically behind,
That's one thing I've seen, but it's just looks
behind
ratty.
the water hose? Is that what you're referring to?
Whatever might be back there. Want to spruce it up and make it look good.
I know that the landscaping committee is also taking a look at trying to make it a little prettier.
Enhance the entrance.
Yes,
Hans is trying to get all the fountains running. I mean, collectively, of all three subsystems,
Yeah.
we need to improve the appearance of coming in. The awning's not in our color scheme anymore. It's a lot of things there. Window boxes, there's opportunities, that's all.
yeah, JP.
If we have a complaint from a resident, do we get a hold of Gabriel? What's the proper way to get a hold of him? Is it a phone number or
And it's a complaint about what? I'm just-
or something, anything about the gate?
Oh, okay. The best thing to do is have them go through C-Click Fix.
Okay.
Because then it gets logged. But what very often happens is they call the PPCA, because in years past, they could call Castle and Castle could get that information over there. But with the O&M agreement going away, et cetera, what they've been doing is just forwarding them on to me, and then I usually just forward them directly on to Gabriel. But there's no, I'd like people to use C-Click Fix, but yeah, I can.
Just kind of confusing because dwelling live is a community association.
Yeah.
I know, it is confusing. Yeah,
There's a lot of gray areas.
exactly. So, I mean, if they send them to me, I usually get them out within, a reasonable amount of time. I don't let grass grow.
So C-Click Fix is the system of record for that. When that goes in, I, myself, Chelsea, and Jennifer all get that automation to tell us that that item's in there, and then we start actioning it.
Share that back on the street.
What's really nice about C-Click also is that if things aren't getting closed, they get recycled. So I see that email.
Oh, yeah, it
in about a week,
auto
and then I get
updates.
another week, and
So
then-
if it's just
so,
outstanding,
Yeah, so it
Here's how
it
you.
doesn't get lost.
come in here and just hit click,
Click
see
on
quick
that
fix.
C-click, huh?
Yep.
It's also off the PPCA website. So, Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I printed everything except that.
anybody need one?
Yeah.
Feel free to take one.
Here, just pass it over.
Sure. Okay, anything else from anybody? Anything else from you, Gabriel?
I things, we have had some issues, some complaints recently with, guards allowing, putting addresses that they should be putting addresses if it's for Uber, et cetera. Gabriel and Joseph have been working on altering some processes, so that should not occur in the future. And then I believe you're taking the lead in training all new guards coming on board.
Yes, ma'am.
And making sure that they're staying trained and reminded. But we are working through some of those issues, and then with the end of this month is, so your third person goes away, right?
Yeah, on the first, yeah.
On the first, so, I know that as part of, some of these issues that have come up, part of that is because there's been so much traffic at the guardhouse. It all seems to happen at the same time, so we're working through some minor things on the back end, but, I'm confident that Gabriel and Joseph can come up with a resolution that, we'll be satisfied with.
Your, shift assignment, what is your presence here?
So it can be a little confusing. Technically, because I'm the site supervisor, I fill in for any open shifts. However, on the books, my shift is 2 p.m. to 10 p.m., Monday through Friday.
He's replacing Mark Thompson.
Okay.
That's,
There's nothing else. Thank you very much for coming. You have an open invitation if you ever want to come.
Absolutely.
We're here the fourth Thursday of every month.
Okay, I think it would be
11 to
good to have someone from our side of things here, just so that way you can hit us with questions, or we can bounce stuff off you guys as well.
Right.
Well, and I want to emphasize that if there are needs, kind of to Bob's point, if there are needs like new cones, or if you need something in that guardhouse is this committee's responsibility. So
Okay.
you can vocalize any of that stuff either through email to Jennifer and myself, or come to one of the meetings and say, hey, you've experienced this, we need another camera in the outside lane. This would be the committee to vet that through.
they own the budget for everything on that
Okay,
house.
got it.
Welcome aboard.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you with the flags, recently as well. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay, thanks everyone for letting us change that. The next thing on our agenda is approval of the minutes from February. Anybody have any comments or suggestions? Okay, well, I have one. I just wanted to see if, I just wanted to, give other people a chance first. Okay, mine, I think is pretty easy. It's, after,
What line?
89. I think this is about, the attendance, for meetings for Mr. Crawford. And I think it's important to put in here that we agree that no action was required. Because I think
Yep.
the resolution was kind of left open.
Now he's here. He got the message. No, I'm kidding.
I'm really sorry for bringing that up, but I really want to make sure.
Gave everybody full
Even the
Okay.
attendance sheet said absent that you just passed around. Beside my name, you must.
Did it really? I did
you
not
must
do
have
that.
Presumed I
I
wasn't
did
gonna
not
be
do
there.
that. I saw you. I didn't do it.
See that, Ed? You're all.
Oh.
He's the guy.
Jeez. Okay. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes as amended? Okay, Cece is saying, okay. Capital CECE.
It's spelled wrong. In the minute.
Okay, one capital. So Cece made the
Got it.
motion. Do I hear a second? Okay, Ed seconds. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, it passes unanimously. Okay, financial report. We're gonna have a nice discussion about financials in a little while. Any questions, concerns, suggestions for the finances as of the end of March? Probably interesting to note that that's halfway through our fiscal year. No questions? Okay, I know we'll have some more discussion on finances in a little bit. Project status, there's nothing there, so let's move on to items for discussion, the FPL streetlight conversion presentation.
Polling with FPL is here. Actually, I will move out of the way so we can sit here.
What's about me?
Morning, everyone.
Morning. Welcome.
Something that you wanted to share?
Me this morning?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll hit that one at the end.
Oh, let me get it queued up.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody, for allowing me to be here today. I know this is something that's been discussed for quite a while here.
That's fun.
So, yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit. If you can pull up the other one there. Glad we were able to get to this place to give some real firm numbers and be able to go through and answer any questions. So, next page, please.
Great.
All right.
I gotta run the bathroom anyways.
So what I've laid out here is what the identified scope was by the community and working with Chelsea and Daniel to review replacement of the existing lighting along the roadways here that I've highlighted throughout the community. What we've got out here, as I'm sure you're aware, is we've got decorative lighting, pendant style lighting kind of along the main Pelican Boulevard. We've got some post top lighting, decorative coming down. Is this, I forget the name of the road. Thank you very much. Coming over across here up to where Prado comes in, Cypress Grove. And then all the way down here, again with decorative, and at the bridge, we actually transitioned to a few FPL owned and maintained post top lighting, which is what is traditionally within all of the existing pods. The transition to the FPL is actually right about. Yes, that's correct. Excuse me?
It's a plaza for the transition.
So this is Plazo here. There are actually FPL units that I feel verified out in this area. They're
still decorative.
They are not. They're actually the standard fiberglass post up. I was out there a couple weeks ago.
Well, the current ones are.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, excuse me. I was going through the removals. Yeah.
Quick recap of how we got to where we are today. So this conversation started well over a year and a half ago with this subcommittee. And well, it really started at PPAC level and PPAC pushed it back down to this committee. Gateway, the Greater Gateway side is going through an FPL conversion project with Eric right now. We're wrapping that project up here in the next couple months. As part of that, the board and PPAC said, hey, we need to look at Pelican. We've got this exorbitant cost of repairs, of running wiring, et cetera, that are exorbitant. So this said, hey, let's get in touch with FPL. Let's look and see about converting really the main thoroughfares, because that's the only remaining items that are privately owned. And by privately owned, I mean owned by the district. So this committee, I don't know, maybe 6 months ago, maybe not long, a little bit longer, had said, hey, Eric, can you work with Ed Hedges from PPAC? And then do we have something else? Was it Jay? Rich and Jay on coming up with a plan to bring back and present to this group. So through many iterations, and back and forth. This is the presentation that I feel that the group, I have reviewed it as well, is presenting to you all for your review, consideration, potentially recommendation to PPAC. And then obviously this would go to PPAC and then the board if that's where we end up. So just a little history.
Thank you. Continuing down here at the roundabout, that's where existing it transitions over into a post-op style light, but not FPL owned and maintained.
Your presentation.
So I've got kind of a supplemental of the photometric, which is a lighting layout, and we did go through quite a few iterations. All the assistance with that. I'll pause kind of after each slide, ask, open up to questions. I believe I did. Chelsea, did I, at the very end here, put in Welland Park picture? Did not.
We can guess it around, we have.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've got a really good picture. I apologize. I thought I had attached it in here. Don't know if anybody's familiar with the large development, Welland Park in the Venice area. They've been utilizing this one.
One of the things that we were,
Very simple.
well, most of the boulevards put in at different times, and they used different lighting patterns. Some of Pelican are kind of staggered, but then Prado, they're directly opposite, and that, so and in some of the areas, like south of the bridge, there are many lights, so there's no dark spots. And one of our things that we were trying to do was for uniform lighting on all the boulevards. So we've gone to a staggered light. And then south of the bridge, we reduced lighting levels somewhat, and then in front of Viadana, we went to kind of the lowest through fair residential street lighting level because there was concern the street, so we went kind of as low as possible in that stretch, and then the rest of it should be pretty uniform lighting throughout. And the front entrance should be better lit than it is today. With post top lights off to the side, these will actually illuminate the roadways much better.
Yeah.
And the hood on these lights helps the light intrusion out from the roadway, keeps it. Yeah, I guess so. With some design parameters that we were trying to get to.
One, and you mentioned uniformity, and uniformity for street lighting or any type of lighting is the most key consideration. The best reference I can always give is a full moon night. If you are out in nowhere, is 0.01 foot candles, which foot candles is a measurement of lighting. And as we all know or have seen in our lives, you can actually see at night, and that's because it's complete uniformity. Now, when you introduce other variables within cities, towns, communities, again, that uniformity is what's most important. When you go from light areas to dark areas, the human eye can adjust, and you actually have worse visual acuity when you don't have that uniformity. As uniformity comes down, the visual acuity gets worse. I should have done that as a supplemental.
But with this proposal, that all the lights within Pelican would be FPL,
That is correct. Yes, that is correct.
except for town center.
Correct.
I was in, this is Ed Chikowski. Back when we first started this conversation, I thought that we had to include part of tree line also, the lights on tree line. Or is that-
Lights on tree line were transferred, October, September?
Since it started to now it's changed.
Yeah, since then it's changed.
Okay.
So those lights no longer belong to the district as an asset to maintain or manage.
Fortunate the county take the responsibility of this. The only incurred cost that PPAC had was to change the bulbs over to the county's standard bulbs. So we're out of that responsibility.
Unfortunately, turn it over before the project's one, but.
Yeah.
Call the county if there's tree line issues.
So what I've got here is kind of laid out what the overall scope is as far as exact unit counts, for both the removal aspect of the project and what the FPL lighting system install would look like. So currently there's 97 of the decorative units that are currently out there, owned and maintained. It's about 3.1 miles of roadway overall, that I kind of highlighted there on that first page. So based on the lighting plan that we had worked through, we'd be at 112 new FPL units to accomplish that uniformity of lighting and to meet kind of desires of what the community feels would be appropriate lighting for those roadways. Again, here I just kind of bulleted out and we went through kind of visual of that on the first map. In addition, as mentioned, we've got 15 units that would be down at the very end of Pelican, and that transitions to Palazzo Boulevard. That would transition again to a standard post top and a traditional fixture, which I'm very familiar with throughout like pods, as well as 2 units right here actually on Vincenza Drive that just kind of come up from that area. So from a cost perspective, the upfront cost, or what FPL calls contribution in aid of construction, is currently $250,162.91. The project cost is the $200,000 here, and we've got built in a refundable contingency fee. What we've learned with larger projects such as this, as typically with an FPL lighting project, we don't do any type of restoration work from sod, anything of that nature. That always does fall to the requesting customer, whether it's a city or an HOA. In these larger projects, what we've found is that it's best that we work with the community or the agency to try to coordinate with them. So within that, we have put that refundable deposit, and I've spoken with our construction PL and our design team, and we have an ability to track that to the penny. We would obviously work through Chelsea and the district. Anything that's identified, there would be an approval process that we would pull from those funds. Let's, go down the path that we don't have to utilize any of that, then that will be refunded to the community.
That helps offset sidewalk damage, sod damage, things along those lines, valley gutter issues, any roadway issues. So it's good to have there will be some incurred things along the route there. That's just the nature of the business, of setting poles and pulling poles. So set expectations off the bat.
Yeah, it is construction, and we do our best. And I think throughout the existing project that we've got, I think we've been doing a real good job. We've obviously worked through some things, but it is just the nature of construction, and we'll take every precaution.
So one of the biggest questions that we continue to get asked since we started this conversation was, well, what are our current costs? We know what our current costs are to FPL, but what I can't tell you, if you recall, we had an O&M agreement before with PPCA, and they would do reimbursement requests. So without taking staff to sit and pilfer through every reimbursement request for any incurred cost for lighting repairs, I don't have that number. What I do have is the last year, since we canceled that agreement, what are we at, 2 years now, 1 year?
Years of Christmas.
2 years at Christmas, so we have those costs now. That light pole that we're replacing that got hit, $12,000. That's one single light pole, and we're talking 100 and some. The typical lifespan of lighting conduit is about 30 years. This community, at its point, you know, it's been built out over time, and so you've got different age gaps of different things. Obviously, new Pelican is newer compared to old Pelican. By doing this conversion, it would get the entire community to FPL. Now, I don't need to brag yet, Eric, but there has been concerns about post hurricane and the responsiveness of FPL to respond and put in lights. Obviously, just like with the district, just like within your own community, you're going to triage what's the most important. You're going to go to getting power and they're going to go to restoring power back to properties before they focus on streetlights. So whereas right now we have that control, well, we're at the mercy of whatever vendor we use, but we have control of repairing and replacing lights along the main thoroughfare. But if we switch over to FPL, then we'd be at the mercy of them and when they can get out. That's a concern, and that should be a concern. So it doesn't matter if where you're at. It's
Yeah. I could play devil's advocate on that side of the house. Light pole that has been struck on Cypress, that happened in November, and I'm still waiting for the pole to be delivered. They're telling me it's coming. It's going to be here any moment, but it's,
One on
you know,
River Boulevard.
you're talking 5-6 months later when it comes to staff to try to replace a full pole. Now, patchwork, a little bit faster, obviously, to have somebody come out and assess an issue, fix a fuse, fix breaker, whatever that item is. But by no means, don't be fooled that patchwork is at the end of the useful life of where it's at right now with the current asset and infrastructure that's in the ground. That conduit's at the end of useful life. So
What you alluded to the last 18 months, you have some numbers. What was that?
I can pull,
That's ballpark. I mean,
let me pull the financials where we are year to date on R&M. I know we've blown that budget just because of,
so far, year to date, we're at about 35,000. 6 months, we're at about 35,000. So
yeah.
Yeah.
And failures, it's a bathtub curve. You know, so what we spent 5 years ago, 3 years ago, really doesn't.
Yeah.
You know, it's going up and it's going to keep increasing exponentially.
Yeah.
And when I first got started in this, I was doing a lot of inventory and trying to figure out what was fed from what. And street lighting should last 30 plus or
yes,
but a lot of the wiring that was used, Pelican isn't your standard underground street light type wiring. It's more.
Is there direct battery out here? Not in
It's in
conduit?
conduit.
It is.
in conduit.
Yeah.
Probably normal building.
consider who installed it.
Yeah.
And even on, some of the infrastructure is getting in really bad shape, and even on breaker box that serves the lights, I open it up and the breakers and everything are all rusted. I wouldn't.
Just
even want
general
to
erosion.
read,
Yeah.
You know, so there's a lot of problem with, and just the outage and maintenance history that we've had, you know, the last year. Everybody gets frustrated when the lights go out.
What I've typically seen of the lifespan of this type of particular asset, new install date brings things back to a factory setting. You're good, very low O&M costs over 20 years. You start hitting that 20-year mark. You start seeing an uptick in maintenance more and more. You get 25, you start seeing a real heavy upload into the O&M side of the house. And that's just, you know, forecasting that it's time for a new.
And that's where we are right now.
Yeah, and that's exactly where we're at right now. So nice little flat line with O&M for a while, and everybody ignores it, doesn't think about it or budget for it for a while. And then you get to that portion where that lifespan is starting to deteriorate at a rapid erosion rate. And then all of a sudden it's a big issue.
So if you think right now we're spending
about $70,000 for 12 months without repairs.
You spent 35 in the last 6.
So say 70,000, and then you repaired one pole was 12 grand.
Yeah.
So between,
Right.
say 80, if we only lose one a year, we're at 82,000 versus 103. Not enough to talk about. It's a great deal.
The question, does the Patricia from PPAC, does FP&L take over all the wiring and update all the wiring for us?
Oh,
They
That
maintain
would
it
be-
after install.
Oh,
Like firm fee.
Yeah, real quick, I do want to touch on the maintenance item of restoration. So, we are well aware that our street lighting restoration has been a challenge. In a statewide survey that was actually identified by the customer base as the #1 complaint overall with Florida Power and Light. That's been taken up at our executive vice president level. And there is a initiative in place, and I've actually been kind of going on a road show. So a little background on me. I do lighting for 14 counties and all governmental agencies throughout the state. We've started kind of doing a little bit of a road show with our governmental agencies, with the director of the to share with what the challenges over the years have been. And as far as the initiative, looking to improve going forward, understanding that that's a big challenge. So did want to kind of touch on that because we're well aware over the years that we've had some deficiency within, I'll say, a timely replacement of street lighting when those outage calls are made. Real quickly as well, from a maintenance standpoint, we've got roughly 750,000 lights throughout our entire service territory, including Northwest Gulf area. Prior to switching over to the LED lighting, when we were old high pressure sodium bulbs, we were seeing about 20 to 25% of the units had to be touched in some way on an annual basis. That's obviously come down a lot with the transition over to LED. We're about 90% LED these days throughout the service territory. So failure rates have come down significantly from an old bulb and ballast type system. But from a perspective of a long-term scenario, and we'll pull up here, I've traditionally done it based on a 20-year life cycle analysis. I think 2030 is appropriate, and as you said, as that ages, there's quite an escalation of that. One of the couple items to touch on from equipment standpoint for us is we use all concrete facilities for our poles. Within this, we're looking at a decorative concrete octagonal pole. So from a resiliency standpoint, these poles are well over 1,000 pounds. So hurricanes really don't have a tremendous effect on those. All of our facilities are rated at or beyond the highest wind load ratings for standards, which is 175, 180 miles an hour. In addition, with our fixtures, from just a longevity standpoint, we have some of the biggest or most difficult standards for our manufacturers to actually get on our catalog. We strike each fixture with lightning 30 times. We simulate lightning strikes 30 times. That fixture has to survive. Also put it through what's called a salt fog chamber, which simulates the salt air that we have in Florida that corrodes everything. And that simulation is based on a 10-year cycle for that fixture. And I will say there is no manufacturer that ever passes the first time. We do require some different standards from coatings, sealings than you would get from a standard manufacturer. So from a longevity standpoint, I just kind of wanted to touch on some of those items as well.
What is the monthly fee get them?
So that is inclusive the way our tariff rate is structured. The rental of a pole, the fixture, it includes energy and maintenance for the entire system, including underground. And when I say maintenance, and I just touched on the kind of resiliency of the units. Hurricane comes through again, or any event, could be just a simple lightning strike, could be a knockdown. If it's a knockdown, for example, we're gonna try to go after, insurance of the individual who knocked that unit down. But, let's play out devil's advocate, worst case scenario, 20 poles just on the ground. The community pays nothing additional. That's part of that maintenance. Underground facilities, something happens, it's all our facilities that we maintain ownership of. So we are responsible for maintaining those, and that is included within that current monthly budget number at the 8,600.
So when FPL, if approved, and I can tell you firsthand how it's handled on the Gateway side right now with that conversion project. If this gets approved by you all, by PPAC, by the board, we would put a check to FPL for the 250 number. It would go through their internal process, confirm, assign, schedule, coordinate, etc. When it gets to the actual construction side of things, we have kind of like a pre-construction meeting with the contractor. We physically walk the site, identify, we all agree on the location of the pole, confirm based on the plans. There might be a little bit of wiggle room that might be in direct conflict with the tree, etc. They come in. Were you directionally drilling most of this or trenching it?
It is set up to be able to trench, but they probably will want to drill.
So typically they would come in, they would do all of the underground wiring, the hand poles, the pole boxes, all that fun stuff. And then the pole setting crew would come behind and set the new poles in. Timeline of these actual fixtures and poles, what's your lead time? I know it's a long lead because they're custom.
Yes, I do want to get back to the community on that. The numbers that our kind of inventory system put out, I actually looked at it this morning. I don't believe it. So I want to verify that, and I will report back to you on that.
Okay. So we would then go back after setting the new poles, go back, remove the old poles and dispose of them. There would be restoration efforts, which depending on, what happens with this $50,000 deposit, or we work directly with the Mayorscape. And that's what we've done on our Gateway side is have Mainscape after they've done a segment. Our staff goes out with our landscaping vendor, they measure it, quantify it, get a proposal, and then the vendor goes in and lays the sod. But your monthly estimate would be approximately $8,600 just for those lights. That doesn't count the rest of the community, which the rest of the community, I believe, is about $8,300. So, you can measure it with linear footage and see what that equates to, but the monthly fee that you would pay, we're basically leasing these poles and fixtures and lights from FPL. And that fee would never go away. And if they would have an increase on their rates, a decrease on the rates, which may never happens, their fuel rates do go down though. I will say that, but that goes with the market. This would be a perpetual cost period. We're already in that boat. That ship's already sailed. We're already in it for half the community, but this would get the other half. So that we're whole.
Say that we have, are there two costs? One 86 and another for 83,
83 is current for all the current FPL poles that we have out there that we're paying for.
but that goes away, right?
No, it's added.
So this is in it, this almost doubles.
Well, because, pardon,
That's all the ones in the neighborhoods.
yeah.
The existing post tops that are out there that the community was built out with, that's roughly 9,000
Okay,
Oh,
for.
we're talking about the roads, certain roads.
Yeah.
That's
So that doesn't, the 83 doesn't change.
that doesn't change.
That's a static quo.
All right.
Yeah, your budget $70,000 for maintenance. That would be replaced with about 100,000. So your 70,000
Is the debt.
maintenance goes away, but you replace it with 100,000.
Got it. Okay.
Your net deltas.
So
All right.
12 months,
Well,
80.
Got it.
The maintenance goes away and then the actual electric bills go away as well.
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
Right.
Well, it shifts. It
Just shift.
Well, yeah, I know, but when you're looking at it, those line items that appear right now
Would
go
go-
away.
Yeah.
It'd be a new one.
Electricity would
big-
increase.
Yes.
We shift to them.
What I didn't take into consideration actually was the energy cost. The units that are out there currently are real efficient to begin with. I mean, it's dollars almost. It's not worth rolling into looking at, but you are correct. The current energy, which is, should be on a meter, that may
Right.
be still an old energy only, but there's a couple meters out there that this is tied to, that would go away. Because it's gonna
Now, the
transition.
repercussions, which Gateway Greens has learned the hard way, because we do have district-owned lighting in Gateway Greens, is what did Sally Joe Electric Company tie in to our own services back in the day? So like, are some of the monuments tied into the existing service? So those are the repercussions that we would have to figure out once they cut the power to the existing lines, what else goes
You'll
with it?
find out.
What else goes with it?
Yeah.
So those were lessons learned on the Gateway side of, we were powering, HOA monuments as well. So do we need to look at running separate meters for those things like that. So full transparency, it's not cut and dry. There may be other things that pop up.
Well. The meters just won't go away.
And
They'll
those,
shut the breakers off that feed the lights and the meter stays and feeds the rest of the stuff. But
We'll inevitably find at least one thing that was like, wow, didn't realize that was, and again, if there are unmetered and over Weslings, for example, was, because that is a fully unmetered system, some monument signs and stuff like that. Never were charged for the electricity for those for, 20 years. But, so I think what I'm hearing is that the cost makes sense, but I do want to just kind of, because there are three scenarios here. There's, there's where's that? It's kind of a situation that the community has of, do nothing, continue the way things have been. Look at a self-installed new lighting system, owned and maintained by the community, or transition to the FPL-owned lighting system. What I wanted to do is just give a little bit of color of what a self-installed lighting system would look like. I know, adding $9,000 a month seems, that's a large number. But I wanted to kind of run through what, where the value lies in that. So from a customer installed standpoint, this is kind of industry standards. And I will say this number here, 13.5 per unit for the decorative units, that is actually based on a contracted rate with a large utility contractor that we use, but they're privately contracted with the city of Port St. Lucie. That's their contracted rate for a very similar style unit. So that's verifiable, I guess you would say, from a bid process through a large city. The fiberglass poles, again, much less cost associated with those to install. We've got rolled into the overall $250,000, the removal and disposal. So if you were to look at an overall estimated cost to replace the existing lighting system with a like for like compared to what we're looking at from FPL, about $1.84 million. I kind of took that cost per door. I think that's an interesting way to kind of look at it. That's $736 kind of upfront cost per door. Over on this side here, took into consideration what that upfront cost of $250,000. Cost per month, I rounded up to $9,000. I will say, as people are probably aware, we are within a rate case right now that Public Service is reviewing all of our rates. We go through a rate case every 4 years with the Public Service Commission. And just as the nature of the world, costs increase. So I just started right off the bat with going up $9,000. That rate case has not been settled yet, but overall, costs will go up. But as well, with a own lighting system, maintenance costs are going to go up because contract rates are going to go up. So there's there's an equivalency associated with that. So over, and again, I used a 20-year life cycle, but the math still kind of works out here if you want to go to 30. You'd be at 2.16 million. I didn't include an escalator in that. Kind of looking at a snapshot here of today. That's a cost per door of $100 per year, essentially. So, kind of captured up front to get to the capital cost. And you can see the equivalency again is a little bit more over that 20-year time frame. And if you divide that number, which I did not do, but your break-even period should be somewhere in the 12-year time frame, I believe, if we divide that out. What I also didn't take into any consideration with the customer installed or community installed system here, I didn't factor in any maintenance throughout whatever that break-even period was. So I think we're presenting something here that's extremely conservative.
Patricia from PPAC, the $1.84 million was what again?
That would be if FPL was not involved at all and the community wished to replace the entire system with the same system and equipment that we are looking at as FPL.
So to explain, if we were to do it privately owned and we wanted to stay privately owned, what we would have to do is we would have to contract with an engineering firm. They would have to design the photometrics that he was alluding to earlier to make sure that we don't have that light issue. We would hire an engineering firm. They would design it. They would have to come survey. We would have to go to the city of Fort Myers and potentially the county, apply for permits. It would have to go through the review process. We'd have to put it out to bid. And based on Eric's relationships with other cities, municipalities, this is the number that he's presented that could be a realistic number based on other bids that he's seen elsewhere in the state. I don't know what that number would be. We could ask Tetra Tech for a number on what their cost would be to design a system. I know surveying is probably the biggest costly thing, but they've done the design. They've worked with the team to iron out some issues.
I did actually reach out to an engineering firm to get a rough estimate. If the whole surveying and everything that you mentioned, the initial number, and it was a little conservative, but $250,000 for just the engineering work.
But if we did that, if we went for.
That's
installed.
Yeah.
That's a full group, that's a lot.
Correct. One thing regarding some permitting, maybe with the city of Fort Myers, is I believe the whole community is within jurisdiction of the city of Fort Myers. This is at a community's discretion. I will say, so we will pull applicable permits right away, things of that nature. If the city does have specific permits that might be required for a new lighting system to bring up to current standards, I haven't figured in any type of consideration for that. That's something that we don't specifically do, but we do have the ability to pass through that cost. We would work with an engineering firm and just pass through whatever that engineering work would be for any type of lighting, LDO, or anything of that nature that would be.
So that's one of the things we're going to work through between now and hopefully this going to PPAC if you recommend it.
Correct.
Is to reach out to the city and ask, if FPL comes in and puts in lighting, are they going to require, like the county required on Gateway Boulevard, just a right-of-way permit, right? And did they do an LDO over there?
It didn't.
No, they only required a right-of-way permit because FPL was putting assets in their right-of-way. I would be hopeful that the city has the same thing, but it's not their right-of-way. It's our roads, it's private property. So I can't fathom what type of permit they would require, but we're going to have that conversation anyway because it is the city.
I don't believe it would be too extensive. And what I'll say from what I've seen, and frankly, I did it in my own community. We had little post-op screw-in lights and we replaced with FPL lights. Same thing we're talking here. 90% of any community that does this type of project, I don't see them go through that process. Where it can become an issue is, and I did have this happen down in a city a little south of us here. They didn't go through that permit process with their local agency. There were some concerns from adjacent communities, not part of the project. They brought those concerns to the city, and then it started to become kind of a major concern. So like Chelsea said, we're going to work through that if we do move to the next step here. But I just wanted to kind of bring to attention that's not something that was included in here, but I don't see it as a major stumbling block, and we'll have the opportunity throughout the process in order to include that.
So does anybody have any questions specifically for Eric about the proposal?
I have one question. It has to do with timing of payment.
Yes.
What's the payment schedule? Because what I'm hearing now is a little different than I understood it when I read through this, so I must have misread it.
So if full approval happens, then the next step would be to execute the FPL tariff agreement, and we would generate the invoice for the $250,000.
So it's all upfront.
That's correct.
Okay, that's what I
That gets the
understood.
ball.
That's everything.
Gets the ball.
That's correct.
Thank you.
Yes.
That's what I was hearing here, but for some reason I thought it was different. Thank you.
Carol Pincott, just one question, not really tied to your proposal, but we also have streetlights on all the residential streets.
Yes.
So I live on Avila and I don't know, maybe 10.
Yeah.
On the street. Who pays that electric bill?
So, and are they the post top traditionals? Yeah. So that's,
Gateway. So we see that. So the 002 budget pays that also.
Yes.
So that's what you meant when you said in addition to.
We have we get your monthly bill from FPL for all of the streetlights in Pelican is about $8,300, give or take. It goes up and down, depends on usage.
Okay, so then storm happens and one of the residential ones goes down. That is at our expense to,
No, that's incorporated into the O&M for having that asset into the.
so there's, as I ran through on this, there's a monthly rental of that pole, fixture, energy, and maintenance. What we're talking about here is the exact same, that's our tariff-based program the community is operating under. So 50 of them could fall down. That's our responsibility, no additional cost.
Okay,
to the
your pole,
community.
you would submit a ticket to FPL to come fix it.
Mhm.
Whereas on Pelican Preserve Boulevard, if a pole went down, I'd call Daniel and say, get Bentley out here, we need to get it fixed.
okay.
Then we're at the mercy of that contractor as well. And then you kind of run into the same circumstances that we have now where you've had umpteen different commercial electricians and in there, it's not uniform, it's not done to a certain standard. They're just trying to put a Band-Aid on the issue. And that just digresses over time. At the moment, they're not looking at the whole system as a whole, as where FPL would look at the whole system as a whole and maintain it throughout the life cycle.
So hopefully the light outages that we currently experience chronically on Pelican Boulevard at the entrance would go away once we're in this.
So again, I try to look at this holistically. Again, a lesson we learned on once the contractor actually mobilized on the Gateway side is they went to go tie into an existing transformer and they realized that transformer needed some TLC. So they worked through on their side to upgrade and update that transformer to accommodate the new system. So when you look at this, it's truly a holistic approach. Any other questions for Eric? Good at answering. It only took us a year and a half. That's okay.
So the question about timing, get the ball rolling, but I think your question may have been even a larger one, like when do things start happening?
So based on working through the approval process here internally, once that agreement is executed and the payment would be received, we start our final design process. Then we work through material procurement. That's where I mentioned I'd like to come back I want to check on the material procurement. The poles that we're looking at currently had a astronomical lead time. I don't believe the number that kind of kicked out to me when I looked this morning. So let me follow back up on
But if
that.
this was approved. At earliest.
No, we'll do better than that. Yeah, based on I can go better than that. I'll share the number. I got that. So based on a June 30th receipt of signed agreement and checked and the check, it came, my phone's over there.
Not before, it was like at least a year.
Decorative fancy poles, that's why. Concrete ones are a lot more standard, but those aren't as pretty.
February 15, 2026.
26.
Yes. No, it's not. It's like I said, to me, knowing the manufacturing capability of these particular poles, I had thought it come down quite a bit. So I wanted to verify that. But right now, I think that's a worst case scenario. What it shows actually is the material delivery date. So when we'd have all the material needed for the job is October 31st. So
Consider doing this project in season in this community. It would be a summer project. Yeah.
Now would be a good time to start.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So it is a year.
You know, for the sanity of the future public works director, I advocate for that.
There's how long from the time you start?
122. Typically, they can do conservatively 4 installs a day, probably more upwards of 6 to 7 per day. So however that works out, months. I'll just say 6 months. I think that's realistic.
We're guaranteed, but I did request of Eric, the same contractor that we're utilizing on the gateway side. They're familiar with the area. There's no promises we'll get them, but we have had great communication with them, both the underground sub who does it, and also the pole setting contractor. But I guess we go down a list and pick the draw for the next company that comes. But I would love to get the same vendor that we're using on the gateway side. Like I said, they've been great to work with.
What I think too, we'll see within the community here is just the nature. There's a lot more grass, less road crossings than we've been doing. I mean, much different scenario. I do foresee everything going a lot quicker and smoother here, just because of the nature of openness, you know.
Well, they do it with the open, it'll change and vary too. If they do open trenching versus if they horizontally bore, depends on the soil composition. If there's a ton of rocks in there, it really slows them up.
There will be.
Yeah, there's gonna hit some big boulders out there.
Yeah.
So, 4 to 7 is conservative a day.
What are our next steps?
What questions do we have? What concerns do we have before, especially while Eric is here? We really think through it because we're gonna start making decisions here. Big project. I just want to make sure people are comfortable. Okay. What are people's thoughts? Committee folks?
Do we need a motion?
We do, but I just want to get any thoughts out on the table first.
I will say for a budget standpoint, you actually have money in this year's budget to cover the 250,000 carryover from last year. Your gatehouse security contract is under 90,000 that was budgeted. And the road construction budget to cover the 250
We don't have to go at the reserves.
without going into reserves.
Something real mention about that, because we had that in our community. transitioning to a system like this, funding a capital reserve for that 30 years when it needs to be replaced again, that line item kind of goes away.
Is the $2,000 deposit a requirement?
Yeah, we've kind of transitioned to that being for large scope projects like this.
Else? Any concerns? I know I asked, but I'm asking one more time. Would somebody like to make a motion to accept this proposal and make a recommendation to PPAC that we proceed?
Ted Crawford, I make a motion to accept the proposal.
Do I hear a second?
That's pretty good.
Second?
Second.
Jay seconds.
Correction, I guess. Yeah.
Right, that's,
Yeah,
I
that's a
thought that's what I said, yeah.
To accept it, so.
Oh, okay. I think the proposal I made was to make a recommendation. Accept the proposal to make a recommendation.
Would this same
Okay.
motion include appropriating the funds? Is that a separate motion? Would that need to be a separate?
I think it, well,
I
that's
would
a good
wrap
question.
it.
I would wrap it all up in the same
I'd put it all
motion.
in one.
Yeah. So we will amend the motion to recommend to PPAC that we accept it using the funding as Ed has
Within the
proposed here
budget.
in the current budget. All right. Any changes for the recommendations, Ted or Jay? Okay, all in favor, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. We will make that proposal to PPAC.
Eric and Ed, thank you, and everybody else who contributed to the process.
Thank you very much.
I
Appreciate
think
everyone's time.
this write-up is really deceiving in terms of the amount of time it really took all these people to do the work. It's been an enormous effort for those of you who have not been here the entire length of time, so really.
I have to give Ed, he took the
Yeah.
lead on that, and
And
I've
I
only done this for 40 years.
I want to thank you as well, because it helped on our side to have that level of engagement. I will say that we don't always get that. So thank you very much. That was a tremendous help.
thank you, Eric.
Here.
Thank you very much.
Talking about money. Let's talk a little bit about the budget for next year. Thank you very much for
Thank
coming.
you.
Okay, I know you put this on the agenda. I don't know if you had a,
Laura is on the call, she should be on the call, Laura.
I'm here.
all right. I'm sorry, I saw your name on it, but Laura, would you like to do an introduction of some sort?
This is the budget template for fiscal 26. The green part for safety and security is what I need you guys to give me input so I can fill that out. I do have a meeting tomorrow afternoon at 2:00 with PPAC to go over the budget for all of them. I've already met with Doug to do his portion, and we did landscapes this morning. So outside of the security services line, because that's by contract, and I will need input from your committee to tell me what you would like to plug into those lines.
So the easiest
Okay.
thing that we did with landscaping is just went line by line and told Laura the number to put in.
Okay, that sounds good.
So we're skipping the first one, obviously, because that's contract, so.
Well, when I looked at the contract online, I have my notes on my phone, so I'm checking to find it. I thought the contract was 368 per year.
That's what I need to review. We didn't have the contract last year when we did this, so I
Right.
just took a swag.
Oh, okay.
So
Well,
I
no,
will plug it in
understand
based
that from
on-
last year. I'm
Yeah, I'll-
sorry.
I'll plug it in for fiscal 26 based on whatever pricing is in the contract.
Okay,
I just haven't done that yet.
okay, no problem. I looked that up and that's what I pulled out of the contract. So I had actually written down a proposal for 370 just to round it up just a little bit.
Did that include the vehicle? Because I think that was an extra cost, so that needs to get added in as well.
I don't know. I'll be honest.
But-
I looked at the contract out on the website and that's the number I pulled out.
Okay, yeah, I'll plug that in based on the contract.
Okay, thank you.
And the next line actually should have been hidden because I'm just sharing that across Pelican as a whole under operating expenses, so I do not need attorney fees from you.
Because not only did I look at contracts, I also pulled out the March report, the financial report, I can't remember what you call it, with all the invoices listed out.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and when I looked at it, I couldn't figure out which attorney fees were ours, so if we weren't supposed to see that, that answers one of my questions.
Yep. I just lumped that all under, it's too hard. And normally they're too small to break them up by committee, so I just lump it under Pelican as a whole.
Okay. All righty. We did that.
As you can see, there was no budget for 25 because that's the dash next to the green area.
Right. Anybody has any questions as we go over line by line? Okay. Next one is police patrols. Now, what I did with police patrols.
Real.
R&M roadways.
All right, I'm sorry, I'm looking at my own little note. This R&M.
Jennifer, how much did you say for the contract?
For which contract?
Wiser.
386. 368,
My bad.
368. Huh?
390?
Oh, I had just put in, I upped it to 370, but she's gonna check to see, she's gonna double check the contract and make sure that the vehicle costs were in there as well. Cause I don't know if the vehicle costs were in what I looked up. I looked at the bottom line and the signed contract. Did that answer your question?
Well, I was just trying to see how much you were reducing it
fair.
to.
370.
To 370
Mhm.
or 390?
370.
370 plus whatever.
So that's 70,000 plus.
370,000.
350, Laura, 350 would cover with the vehicle based on my calcs.
I'll double check it.
Okay,
350?
Yeah.
Okay.
all right.
90,000.
And where's the 368 coming from? Because that was on the signed contract, the one that I pulled up. Okay,
I'm looking at the bid form, and it was 332,717, and then the vehicle monthly rate was about $1,400.
Does that include the extra person?
Yeah,
Okay, I'll double check it.
okay.
I trust my math.
Yeah.
No offense.
Yeah, I don't trust mine. Okay. so
I'll spell
what's-
it out in the notes, what it is, where I got my number from. Okay, so R&M roadway.
See my phone? I have 40,000.
Read figure then, 350,
350 for
That's
one.
what she's saying, yeah.
okay.
That first line, you'll see a reduction.
Okay,
so if it helps, the March financials for R&M roadway, what we're on, you guys have spent
very little.
$4,800 out of 40,000.
The next one, it'll be quite a bit more for.
No, that'll come from the capital,
That's correct.
roadway capital.
Potholes or
Yeah.
gutters, anything within the roadway.
Can I make a suggestion?
Absolutely.
And keep the, for the first pass through. If you do 350 for the contract services, that's a gain of 90,000. If you just plug in 90,000 into gatehouse technology.
That line shouldn't be on there either. We don't pay for that. The gate technology, pressure cleaning, maintenance, cart R&M, not sure how those pop back in there. Those are not expenses we're responsible for per the contract.
House technology being for replacement of the gates and stuff.
That would go under repairs and maintenance.
That would keep your budget flat. Then you can work through if you want to shift things through before we do the final budget.
That's a very good idea.
Yeah.
I am going to, this is my opinion. I know what you guys are trying to do to compare apples to apples because of the new assessment methodology, but we need to look at the budget and put in the numbers that are appropriate and not try to keep it flat just for the sake of keeping it flat.
We heard you.
We're looking for the committee, what you're recommending for Arnhem roadway.
And it comes from the committee, not from Bob and not from Ed. It comes from the committee.
I understand.
Are you trying to muzzle dissent?
The committee is responsible for the budget, therefore the budget comes from the committee.
Okay. Then in that case, what do other people think? I have my opinions, but I don't want to always say first thing. Yes, JP.
That's an idea.
Leaving it at 40?
Put the 90 down there.
Into the gatehouse repair and maintenance.
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought we saw that really good.
Let's do, can we just go one line item by one line?
Sure.
Okay.
So line item 167.
Sorry, say that again?
The line item that we're looking at right now is the highlighted one in blue.
167.
Currently for,
Only. This is the- Okay, yeah, 4.7, 5. I understand that leaving flat as well, but can we just put in 15 for the time being? Because that's double plus a little in case we have extra issues next year and see where we end up at the bottom line when we get there?
Then, sure.
Yeah, if we,
So that's a 25 reduction. Okay.
It's okay, Bob. It's their budget. Please let them do
I'm
it.
just commenting on what they said, Laura. Don't challenge me on every time I open my mouth.
So Arnhem roadway, what dollar amount are we plugging in there? I keep losing your sound. You guys cut in and out.
oh, I'm sorry, we're gonna put in 15 for the time being and see what happens when we get to the bottom.
so instead of 40, from
Got it.
25, it had 40, 26, we're trying to put in 15.
Yeah,
Right.
and the logic there, and please, if you're gonna put notes, let's put the logic there so we remember, because we might not. Right now, we're at about 5, so we're halfway through the year. We're saying double that plus a little extra because you never know what you might need for repairs. That's my logic.
On the next one for your
Sidewalks.
Arnhem sidewalks, you spent $951.
It's about to go up just because of Prado flumes. So,
Yeah,
so,
So even
that comes under sidewalks.
yes.
And there are other people that are coming in with issues on sidewalks and with the ADA ramps. Does that? do
That'll
ADA
fall in
ramps
underneath
come
that
in?
as well.
So,
Does this also include the drainage then?
For a lack of not having a line item specific to drainage, yes.
That's where I would put it.
Yeah, that's exactly where I'd put it.
Seemed like.
If it was a valley gutter, I'd put it in with sidewalks.
okay. That's gonna end up happening. Do you have a sense of how much? Because we've been getting a lot of those kind of sidewalk droppages and ADA ramp problems.
Just depends on how we, means and methods of what we do for repair. If I do a 1-for-1 and I take out old sidewalk and put new sidewalk in, it is expensive. Point in case, we spent what, $60,000 on 50-something panels recently, and that's taking it to the street, getting the best proposal that I could get, and having a contractor do that work was about $60,000 for 50 to 60 panels to be done. So sidewalks can get expensive really fast. If it's just trying to put a Band-Aid on it, level out one panel, fix a crack panel, it can stay lower. Yeah.
Things like, later on our agenda about entryways and monument areas. I mean, they're passageways. Where would
Or the
they
pavers?
on that list?
Where the pavers is located. are they
It
in the
depends, if it's in the roadway, if it's an apron to an entrance, it changes where those pavers would fall on this. If it's in the roadway, like if it's a roundabout, that would be a roadway. And honestly, if you were going to redo an entire roundabout, I would put that as a capital roadway item because that'd be a large dollar sign. So difference in my mind, and I know that people here vary on what the difference between O&M or R&M and capital projects are. capital projects, you're not rehabbing it, you're resetting it. You're doing a brand new whole asset. O&M is just patchwork. If I'm filling a pothole, if I'm replacing 3 or 4 bricks, it would come from your O&M, your R&M capital.
Question is, should that somehow get approved to be done? Where in the budget would that fit? What line?
Sounds like that's
would we
R&M.
allow?
Correct?
Yes, because that's maintenance. Pressure washing of anything is a maintenance item.
So that'd be line 167.
So that's gonna be roadway maintenance.
Well, it depends on where the brick pavers fall,
90% of the paper.
or in the roadways, yeah.
Maybe want to put more than 15.
Right, that's the point.
I know, but the 15 was for the time being, because we do have other discussions, so we can go back and,
Oh.
yeah. Well,
Yeah, that was fine.
okay, sidewalks. We haven't done much sidewalks, but we're getting a lot, many sidewalks.
There's about to be a bigger uptick in that one, so I would leave it alone.
Leave it
Okay,
Again, high water mark.
yeah, I
Yep.
understand. I just wanted to be sane about it, so. All right, next one is.
But I didn't hear that. How much was sidewalk?
40,000.
keep it at the same.
Status quo.
Do you want me to share my screen so you can see it updating as you guys are talking?
That
That'd
would
be
be very
spectacular.
Thank you, Laura.
Hold
While
on a
she's
second.
doing that, what's your question, JP?
The number was, I just told him.
Oh, okay, thank you.
That city had.
Have to make it way bigger.
Better?
Can you guys see in the back?
Much better.
Go ahead, Laura.
All right, so we're on signage.
Well, we go on sidewalk. Where do we leave that?
My
So we
list
need
isn't,
what?
well, we did 40,000 for sidewalks is what I heard.
Yes.
Okay.
So next, actually, let's go back up here. My list is in a slightly different order than yours. The police patrol, do you want to keep that at the same amount that you have this year?
No, we want to up it because their rates went up. And got on my phone too, gosh, I should have printed this off. I'm so sorry, people. Thought, oh, I'll just look at it. They went up $25 and I did the little math, but don't trust my math, Laura. So I said 40 sessions, 4 hours, $75. That came out to be, I think. Is right? Can't be right. Well, that, if you could do the numbers, it went up to $75. And so we're gonna be a little short this year because it wasn't for the whole fiscal year,
How many sessions?
40.
I get
40.
12,000. You said 4 sessions or 40 sessions, 4 hours a session times $75 is 12,000.
12,000, okay. That's assuming they don't go up again at the beginning of next year. Do you have any feel for what those rates might happen? You know, do they go up every year? Is that just the first time they've done it in a long time? Does anyone have an idea? I just don't know whether to add something onto that so we're not short next year.
Well, you've reduced some other lines, so if you want to fluff it now.
Yeah. That's
15
what
to
I
become
like to do.
15,000.
Okay. So let's do 15.
This I'll take care of. I have to go back and review these bills and I will plug this line in. So next would be signage.
Okay. $17.
Want me to give you your?
Now, I'm just gonna play little devil's advocate. We've got some more traffic studies coming up because people are complaining about speeding. I know it's not easy to get new signs up and what have you, but we're getting a little more into that than we have this year. So this year might not be the right, the right level to start off at. So just pay attention to that.
Mark's done an inventory of the signs, correct, and of
Yeah.
what needs to be added, fixed, so.
Oh,
And how's that looking?
It's up there. There's a lot of signage that needs to be rehabbed.
Okay, so we need that in mind.
You have not, as of the March financials, you have not spent any money on this.
17 look like it?
17.
Yes,
Okay,
Stick with
all
that.
right, thank you.
it's a good starting point for the list that he's got. He's got a very robust list of the inventory of things that
Okay.
are just weather worn, eroded, things that need to be replaced. So
Okay, great. We can maybe add that in on the, just to remind us that it isn't only new signs, it's.
May I make the suggestion?
Yes, ma'am.
You leave it as is, but let Daniel go back and find out from Mark what the quantity is. And if we know it's $1,200 a sign times, if his count's 12, we just do the math.
I'm okay with that.
Well,
And add up, yeah. And then add on a few signs just for,
Yeah,
things that might pop up.
Just leave it.
I know, we'll come back.
Okay,
So are we leaving it at 17.5, but just verifying that that's gonna be enough?
yes, they're gonna do the math.
Okay,
The roadway, you already decided.
Well, but we didn't have the favors or the washing the favors in that 15.
Yeah, we'll come back to that.
Okay. Over 2 years.
Well, that's true too. Because that's part of the discussion we're gonna have later on in the agenda. How much do you want to really start off with? We're getting a little behind here, so well, this is important because it's coming to PPAC tomorrow, so
Safety
We
and
have to-
security other, your March financials show that you've spent $5,600.
what is under other?
anything that doesn't fall in any of the other categories that you guys wanna do, it's like a slush fund.
uh-oh.
I can't hear anything if you guys are talking. I don't know if you can hear me.
Money in there for.
Hey, there you go. Hello.
We're back.
Okay,
All right.
all right, so I don't know if you were following along with the street cleaning, we're gonna leave it. Oh, no, Laura's gonna
Safety and
look up the
security.
contract for that. And put the number in, okay, Laura?
What did we decide with this line?
40.
Leaving it the same? Is that coming
Yeah.
from the committee or is that coming from
Yeah,
Bob?
leave it at the-
It's the committee.
Okay. Thank you. This one I have to pull the contract and I'll plug that in.
Okay, then for gatehouse, yeah, we did a ton of work. We replaced the whole door and they had to do, I think, all kinds of redo just to make it all fit in.
There was electrical work, there was remodeling done, there's a hurricane rated door on it now. Some finished
I
work.
think there's still some work that could be done.
There's still absolutely a lot of work that could still be done, but
Okay, but.
When you have that pending, those potential pending gate repairs or gate replacement as well due to them not being manufactured anymore.
I'd like to recommend that we actually put it in there. I know we haven't actually talked about it in terms of putting it. Some of you might not know what it is, but part of it is the current gate. That technology is going away. So the company is actually looking to stockpile stuff so they can do repairs, but we have problems with that.
Yeah.
I mean, everything from it fails all the time. I mean, like, you wouldn't believe how often it fails. They found places where the conduit, I guess, is so bad, rodents have gotten in to chew up the wiring.
yeah, I've spent several thousand on redoing conduit on that gate this year as well.
Did we-
So,
They gave us a new model that they sent to us and Jennifer to say this is what's coming in the future and what we think the cost is for it, and it's significantly reduced. So we're just looking at our O&M if it would be the right way to go. They said that they would stock and bench, keep some bench stock on hand for the thing that's going out of that's obsolete that they're no longer making any parts for. So ultimately, we're going to get forced to a point where we need to replace it. It's just about timing. And they've got an option for us right now that Jennifer's got, and we can distro and make a decision about in the near future.
Or can you make hard to see?
But I'd like.
So
to
far
budget
this year, you
something
guys
for-
have spent almost $23,000.
Did you have the amount for?
Can you make it bigger, Laura? Screen?
This year, we also had 3 vehicle strikes of that building too. So there was some structural engineering costs that were associated with it as well. So signage, everything else.
Yeah, I'm just trying to figure out how much do we need it. Not only for the structural type things, but for the gate.
Looking for my recommendation, I would take it to about 40,000, add an extra 50 or 15 into it. And that being incorporating the new upgrades. There's any engineering that's required for traffic engineering. If there's the cost for the actual unit itself and the O&M agreement that comes with that. So
Okay. Questions?
40's consensus.
Laura, could we take that 1 to 40?
And we kept the street sweeping at 15.
I'm gonna look at the contract.
Oh, excuse me.
Yeah. Pull the number out of that.
And then there's, after you guys had your meeting at the end of March, you had told me that this should be 0, or has that changed?
RNM's got to stay until they make a decision on what they want to do with.
No,
I
I mean
think
the speed calming devices.
Oh, speed calming.
I'm on this line.
Got it.
I'm here.
Weren't there some other opportunities?
There are other opportunities, but are we gonna have the ability to do it next year with all these other projects? And you think of how much time it takes to get approval. I mean, I think we should identify them, but are we realistically gonna have time to do it next year?
Hopefully it'll never take
Didn't we
long
have-
as that did.
Ed, correct me if I'm wrong. Didn't we have this conversation about combining that back into the original? Sorry. For the speed calming devices, the $40,000 that originally got pulled out of the roadways. Didn't we talk about this in the last meeting about consolidating it all back down into the 300 for roadways instead of having speed calming devices out as its own line item? Yeah. So that was the
I did
discussion that
raise
we,
that 40,000. You can see that's,
yeah. So
here.
that other one, the speed
So-
calming devices would be removed as a line item because they're consolidating it back out into the Capitol Street replacement.
okay. Okay,
Streetlight replacement, we already talked about. GIS web portal, that's a contract.
On your
streetlight,
mark,
hang on, we skipped this.
Skip
What do we-
one, yeah.
The R&M streetlights.
I would suggest you put some money, I mean, you just heard him, it's gonna be over a year, so you need to
I'm
have.
sorry, I was down on the Capitol. I apologize. I skipped it. Yep.
70 good to stay the same?
I believe it to build in more buffer. God forbid there's a storm this hurricane season, it delays whatever. There's a hurricane storm the next go around when they actually get parts in. I would buffer in at least 18 to 24 months. From the time that the contract for the agreement and we tender the check for the 250, you're still going to have a lot of time where O&M still on the district to maintain these lights.
And see what the number is for.
Or
then
zoom
we
in,
need to plug-
ignore the notes. Zoom in just so they can see the dollars. They don't need to see the notes right now.
That's good. Thank you.
So we're on Capitol streetlight replacement, okay.
So that's where your 250 would go?
Yeah, well, that's this year, we're gonna pull it out of the money we already have for this year, that's what I thought we were saying.
Yeah.
For the Capitol, for the streetlight replacement,
That'll be done.
Yeah.
So under streetlights. If you can.
So you just approved it, or you're gonna fund it from your reserves? Is that what you're saying?
Yes,
Yeah, it's this
Well-
year.
hold on, Ed's asking a question.
Okay, I can't hear.
70,000 for the streetlights. I mean, that was based on our maintenance, maintaining the existing lights for a year, which is kind of the track we're on. If he can actually construct those, then you'll pump that up somewhat because your monthly fee will be.
That would be bumped up under electricity. Laura, do you charge the annual electricity FPL bill to R&M streetlights? Or do they have an
No.
electric?
That goes,
Utility?
Yeah, it should come down.
I think it was up here, utility, electricity signs, streetlights is up here.
Back to safety and security?
I can move it under that.
Thank you. And then they're suggesting to increase the 94,000 in the event that the lights are constructed for the $9,000 per month. So,
It's 108,000 a year.
3 or 4 months anyway.
yeah. And he just mentioned they may be under, I think you need to, at a minimum, across all electricity accounts, need to go up 10% since they're in.
I've been
this, like,
doing that. I've already been doing that. Actually, I'm gonna leave that alone.
So that line item that you're moving down, that's for the whole development, or that's just for the roadways we're talking about today?
All the above, whole development.
Okay. Then we
Okay,
need
so I'm
to-
confused. So I just need to I need to double check this number and pad it by 10%.
And they're talking about adding about 50,000. If, just like with the admin building, where if it's if these lights are constructed, they'd have them up functioning for half a year, which would equate to $9,000 a month or so.
But this
Right.
that wouldn't apply to this then, so I need to figure out what the cost is and then figure the $9,000 a month for the months that, okay, it's, okay.
Laura's Bob, the other number I think that's in there is the 8,300 for the neighborhoods.
Right.
So, well,
If we move all
that
of
looks like that's just that. So we're gonna add to that the 9,000.
So Laura, 10% to 94 plus 50,000.
Yeah, but if that gets moved down in safety and security, we need to make sure that we remember that that's why it's going up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay, that was my concern.
Comes out of ops, goes into safety
Yeah,
and security.
I don't care if it's here, but we're talking about trying to keep things flat. We just want to make sure we remember. We just add-
Why we did.
You save money on your security contract. We'll see the bottom number here
Yeah,
in a minute
yeah.
when we're done, if we have to move.
Yeah, I understand. Okay, next. Oh, sorry, we'll let you finish. Laura, I'm sorry, I wasn't watching.
All right, we're on, so is this staying the same?
Yeah. I think
Yes.
we said that was staying
Okay.
the same.
And then the money is going in here for the streetlight replacement.
No,
No,
they're using.
Where is that coming from?
The current year reserves.
Okay, so okay, well, they don't have $250,000 in reserves this year, so.
All right, we'll look through that.
Ed, you said,
It'll have to come out of the general Pelican in addition to whatever they have for safety and security, because there's not $250,000 in reserves for safety and security.
Yeah, we'll let PPAC make that decision. On your capital outlay roads, have you all decided what 2 roads? I think Jay, you were working on that. Do you know what the roads you're doing next year so we can put them in here?
We got proposed for, Elton Preserve Boulevard and 3 lines of the four-way stop at Benita. Basically, Elton Preserve.
So Laura, under capital outlay roads, it's, what you just said? Say it loud so you can hear.
Pelican Preserve Boulevard from tree line, to the four-way stop at Benito. Benito Drive.
Yeah, Benito.
Can whoever is not Bob sit closer to the microphone so I can hear them, please?
To Benito, the four-way intersection.
Yep, to the four-way stop.
Thank you.
Is 300 the number you're okay with?
It's gonna be more than that. It was quoted out prior to that, higher than that. Oh, earmark 300. That'll keep you safe.
So the 300 is enough
We'll
or
see.
another 300?
That's gonna be a formal bid that goes out, so it's gonna need engineer and traffic design. They're gonna assess the valley gutters. It's not just a mill and repave. Yeah, that's why I'm saying it's gonna be a little bit higher than that because there's gonna be a lot more associated with it. Especially because it's a main fare through, an arterial road of the community. You might as well do it right the first go.
Yeah.
So is 300 enough or are we adding 300? I'm confused.
1 second, we're debating.
Yeah. The proposal right now is to change it to 400. To add in all the stuff that.
Additional incurred costs that we expect.
There's gonna be permitting, there's gonna be, engineering work that's required for it. MOT, there a lot more on it because these non-arterial roads that I'm doing right now is just a mill and resurface. It's a rehab project essentially. When we go into these main roadways that have the main level of traffic that you have for the entire community,
Highest traffic volume.
it's the highest traffic volume. You're going to want more put into it, and they're going to want to assess the stormwater. You're going to want to assess the valley gutters at the same time. So there's a lot more to it than just let me mill up the road, let me slap down some asphalt.
So the number?
I would say 400 to be on the safe side.
If you still want to do that next year.
Yeah.
All right, Laura, 400.
She got it.
Perfect.
Yeah, all right. So we've already talked about street light replacement, GIS portal to contract. Also 15 for next year. Do you know, Laura?
Don't think we have a contract with them. Normally it goes based on whatever you want to spend and then we give them a PO for that amount.
So budget 15 comfortably?
Looking at entries to Mr. GIS. Yeah.
Do we know how much they spent in the previous year or up to
just a
date,
minute.
year to date?
8,600.
Yeah, 8,600. Yeah.
They're pretty close to budget.
It almost looks like they just
Right.
divided out. That's what they're charging.
It does.
Probably what's happening.
Now,
Okay.
on this last item, the one thing that's different than in years past is this committee needs to recommend a reserve, if any, that they want to put in for next year. So in the past, the reserve has been calculated on the back end, but because it's by silo, we have to account for that by silo. So if you have a dollar amount or a figure that you want to recommend to PPAC for reserve, now would be the time.
Chelsea, what's the standard across the board as a percentage of overall?
We don't have a standard. It's based on the way that it's been handled in the past is just a flat dollar amount based on what they want to set aside or what they have planned for the next year. Historically, Pelican as a whole has been putting aside 200,000 into their capital reserve each year. They did not do that for fiscal 25, but historically they've done that just for Pelican. Each of the subcommittees has only had money that carries forward put into their reserves. We haven't, this is a new line item for them for 26.
So if I make a correction,
You don't need it, but I don't think we. Supplementing our capital.
Correct.
So this would cover any of your additional projects that may arise outside of what you've already captured. So really think of it as your contingency fund. Say you have a roadway washout and need to take care of a large segment of road beyond what you're currently budgeted for.
$3 million.
Yeah.
you're not planning suggesting any reserves for any silo? Because if you're expecting,
We're funding the projects.
so the 200,000 you put in the past, it's hit each silo on the back end. So are you not suggesting any addition to reserves this year that you're making? Okay,
Well, we should have the 200,000.
but that has to be picked between a silo. That's my point. You have to put that money in a silo.
I mean, it's got to be assigned to safety and security
Yes.
Or
and-
landscape, or ponds, or split across the three.
Or another way.
What we did last year was P-PAC had 200,000 that we were funding, adding to reserves. But P-PAC decided that we had enough reserves. And we took that and we basically shifted it to capital roads to pay for the capital roads. And basically, all the capital projects within the silos are funded within these budgets. We're not drawing from reserves and we don't need to increase.
So you don't want to contribute to the reserves.
We don't need to contribute to.
The committee is clear of that. So you're not putting money in reserves, but you're not taking any.
Can I ask a question? What if they have a bad hurricane or a bad storm and like he said, the road washes out, where's that money going?
So to Ed's point, the 002 fund as a whole has an unassigned reserves. It's not specifically for safety and security or landscape or whatever. So they could choose to say, okay, this money of the unassigned reserves is for this.
Of the PP case.
In years past, we took $1 million out of that reserve to redo the boardwalk, do this conservation.
Right.
So that's what paid for that.
I just want to make sure you have money in case of an emergency.
We have more money than anybody in Gateway.
All right, so if you don't wish to put any money into capital reserves under safety and security, then we'll put that at 0.
What did you decide for GIS? I didn't hear.
Status quo.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome. All right.
Well, she's got to add the contractual items in that aren't in there right now, so that's not an accurate
Correct.
number.
So it's not a done deal. I need
No, it's
to
not a
add
done
those.
deal. She's still got to add contractual items with the,
I have 3 things I need to add, and then Daniel and Mark need to verify that this is enough for your sign. So I need to plug in security, utilities, and the street sweeping. And then Mark and Daniel need to verify this number.
You'll have it tomorrow.
It'll be done before the P-PAC meeting tomorrow.
All right, just for grins, can we put in?
Here.
Yeah, well, okay,
They have the final number they're agreeing to.
No.
no, but I have a suggestion. And that is, I understand you don't have the final number, but can we put in something? And we can take it out immediately after we do this for some of these open items, just so that we can have a feel less of what the bottom line looks like.
Yes.
Laura, just match existing budgets, plug them in.
The top one's 350.
All right, put 350.
This is what you said.
Okay,
Okay,
just match existing other than the top one and let's see where they're at. 23,000.
22.5.
325.
okay.
Good number for
Thank
highway.
you. That's a lot closer than I thought it would be, so that's good. All right. Thank you, Laura. Does that bring up the comfort level? I'll be there tomorrow, so I'll.
Do you want to recommend as a committee contingent upon those highlighted items being confirmed to VPAC?
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we need a motion or?
I would
Yes.
suggest.
No, as long as you guys are comfortable with everything besides the contract items and then the confirmation from Daniel and Mark, if you're good with the numbers that you gave me, then that's okay with me. And that's what I will tell P-PAC tomorrow.
Okay, and I'll be there tomorrow, so. Okay, so the motion, I believe, is to approve this recommended budget, given the few contractual, notwithstanding the contractual things that Laura and team will be putting in for tomorrow's P-PAC meeting. Do we, let me see, I don't know how to say this, propose that this is what we want to recommend to P-PAC? once the contracted items are included. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, CC.
As
making a-
stated.
CC, capital C, lowercase e, c, e.
Yeah. Do I hear a second?
Second, John.
Okay. All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, we make this recommendation to PPAS.
All right, thank you.
You're
Thanks,
welcome.
Laura.
Thank you, Laura.
For your help, Laura. All right, we are.
I gave you control back now. I stopped sharing.
Thank you.
Okay, we are out.
Bye. Let me know if you need anything else from me. I'll be hanging around. Not online, but Teams me.
Right.
All right.
Understand. Thank you. Okay, we have a few more budget items, but we are pretty much out of time. I apologize to Tony who came for this, but this is, I think the two items we spent the vast majority of the time on were pretty important. So hopefully everybody's good with, we will just everything else off for next meeting. Yes.
Can I recommend, for John that we put it high on the agenda for next time, so he doesn't have to sit through all this?
Yeah, it won't be in. I'll be back.
But we've talked about it a number of times.
Yeah, I mean, I was just here to support you.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. He's done a really great job about getting the quotes that you're sitting here. And he understands that we might not do it all at the same, we might not do any, we might not do it all. Et cetera. So,
The only thing, if I'm allowed, just one quick comment,
please.
if that's okay.
Just identify yourself for the.
Yeah, Tony DeAndrea, Portofino. Last week I agreed to a comment that was made that this was a cosmetic project, and I was wrong. I don't really see this as cosmetic because based on what I've done for research, the mold that we have is actually a health concern, particularly the elderly residents. So it sounds like something that really we should be doing for the health of our community, as well as mold can get slippery and all that.
Yeah.
Right? There's definitely a safety thing, I guess. Didn't know that last week.
Yeah, and he's provided me links, I can make sure that. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, anything else before we, yes?
I'd like for committee members, if they have time, to drive around, see all the white lines we talked about last meeting, because they're really faded everywhere in Prado, Matarita. I think a couple in Carina, even the lines for crosswalks are faded pretty bad. Maybe just, we should all take a ride and golf carts or whatever, look at that before the next meeting.
Good suggestion.
I've got one item, it's Jay Gann. Had a call from a resident yesterday afternoon about a possible signage problem in the road. Haven't had time to go down and look at it, write it up, but I'll put it in with an agenda item for next meeting.
That'd be great.
Discussion.
What was it?
That's not good. And that's gotta look at.
This is Daniel's last safety and security subcommittee meeting. His last day with the district is Monday, so I appreciate everything he's done and contributed. And I, for the time being, until we can backfill his role, will be your point of contact. If you need anything, please let me know.
Wow.
Thank you,
loss.
Daniel.
Big loss
Everything
to
you've done
us,
with that.
for sure.
Thanks.
I know
And his number two's going with him.
And his number 2 is going with him, so got a double whammy
Oh, really?
separately, not together.
I mean, they both enlisted, huh?
No. Nathan's retired for that, so. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Been a big contribution to our community. Absolutely. Thank you.
And to this committee. All right, do I hear a motion
Do you want to see who will
adjourn?
not be around for the next one? Or should
Oh,
we write
okay,
it down?
that's, yes, anybody know that they're not gonna be here?
It's the date.
The 22nd.
One second. And if anybody has any agenda items, please submit them. I think you guys will have the agenda item request form.
Make sure you send those to the agenda items email, not to Georgia, not to me, to anybody else. There's, in case somebody's on PTO, when the agendas are due.
Okay, question about the item we're putting for next month about proposal for multi-year research. The little chart that I put in. Need. That it's still under the same agenda item.
Yeah.
Yes.
And this reflects the engineering report as far as the priority.
Not 100%. Don't explain that.
Okay,
Some of them are like 10% off, but.
close enough.
Okay, do I have a proposal or a motion to agenda our meeting?
Yeah.
Laura's gonna yell at you.
Has made a motion. Do I hear a second?
That's what we're talking about.
Okay, all in favor, aye. All opposed. All right, we're officially